Hydrocarbons is the topic for today. We'll simply check the definition and now the sources, and of which the classification. Just as the name implies, hydrocarbon. It means there are two elements there, hydro and the carbon. So it is a compound which contains, it's an organic compound which contains only hydrogen and the carbon. An organic compound containing hydrogen and carbon is simply referred to as hydrocarbon. Now let's check the sources of hydrocarbon. We have coal, natural gas, and of which petroleum. Petroleum is the chief source of hydrocarbon. And in fact, another word or another name for petroleum is crude oil. Now you understand better. Crude oil. Crude oil is the major or the chief source of hydrocarbon, and of which you know in this part of the world, this part of the country, even an aged mother knows what crude oil is. But as time goes on, I will tell you that crude oil is useless. I hope you will not crucify me. Crude oil is useless because if I should bring, for instance, 25 liters of crude oil to you, it may be of little or no use to you. Well, let me explain myself. If crude oil is not fractionally distilled, it is useless because it is a black gold. Some people call it black gold. You cannot do nothing, you cannot do anything with that crude oil in that nature. Remember, the word crude means impure. Crude, impure, which means it is not useful until it undergoes refining. And it is after being refined that most of the fractions of which you know would distill over. That is why I said earlier that crude oil is useless. And I hope I have justified my statement. It is useless unless it is fractionally what? Distilled. It is when it is distilled that you now start having petrol, kerosene, diesel, and other fractions that will distill over during the process of distillation. And that is the work of oil refineries. Okay, let us see I am going far for now. We'll still discuss this thing I am saying now. Let us go to the classification of crude oil. Classification of, classification of a hydrocarbon. How is hydrocarbon classified? Having understood the sources of hydrocarbon, let us now classify hydrocarbon as much as possible. Hydrocarbon is majorly classified into two. That is aliphatic hydrocarbons and the aromatic hydrocarbons. When you now have aliphatic hydrocarbons, we now have cyclic hydrocarbon and acyclic hydrocarbon. Now, the acyclic hydrocarbons have alkenes, and the alkynes. We will deal with all these things as time goes on. And I have given an example of it. Remember, cyclic means cycle, a hydrocarbon, an aliphatic hydrocarbon that forms ring, like cyclopropane, which the structure is there for you. Example of alkane is ethane. I have put the drawing there. As time goes on, you understand how to draw these structures. We'll have detailed information about hydrocarbon and now the subsequent organic chemistry. Alkene, as you can see, presence of double bonding between carbon to carbon. Alkyne, the structure is there for you. And the aromatic hydrocarbon is simply ring compounds. But please don't mistaken it with aliphatic, cyclic aliphatic. Both aromatic and the cyclic aliphatic forms ring. But if you observe closely, you see that the ring of a cyclic aliphatic, there is no double bond in it. While that of aromatic has alternate double bond. In fact, if we are talking about aromatic, we are talking about derivatives of benzene, and of which you know the formula of benzene is C6H6, and it is the father of the ring compounds. Let me put it that way. We will have a video, a full topic of aromatic hydrocarbon, where we will be discussing the derivatives of benzene. But just understand that aromatic forms ring, cyclic aliphatic also forms what? Ring. But the difference between these aromatic and this one is that in this one you will see alternate double bonds. But here there is no double bond in between carbon to carbon. If I am saying double bond, I mean the bond holding carbon and another carbon. If you watch carefully, you see that in benzene you have alternate double bonds, but here there is no double bond. That is the classification of hydrocarbon. We also have other ones that we call non-hydrocarbons. Non-hydrocarbons, those ones are the synthetic ones that we can manufacture artificially. I didn't include it here, but those ones that is manufactured artificially, those synthetic hydrocarbons, they are called non-hydrocarbons.